Next on the news, 1 week following the destruction of Hurricane Ian, and we are now getting a full scope of the damage down in Florida. Catholic Charities is leading recovery efforts, helping people physically and spiritually.
We have something to look after us, whether it's God, some other saints, or to make sense of you're not alone.
We speak to a member of their disaster relief team who is now picking up the pieces himself. Just when you think the pain at the pump is easing, a new decision that means rising gas prices for American drivers. Plus,
ditching the desk and opting for a more comfortable classroom. I'm Jessica Eastoe with how one Diocese of Brooklyn teacher is giving his kids some independence and prioritizing their mental health.
And the American tourist who threw a tantrum at the Vatican museums, all because they wouldn't let him see the Pope. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. It's been 1 week since Hurricane Ian made landfall in Florida. We are continuing our exclusive coverage on the work of the Catholic Church in Fort Myers. But first, we're taking a look at the economic impact of this deadly storm. Estimates of the damage in Florida alone are as high as $55 billion, which adds up to years of recovery. Heaps of debris. It's all you can see along the southwest Florida coast. Along with the homes lost, a lot of businesses and a lot of jobs are gone now, too. This is Parrot Key Caribbean Grill at Salty Sam's Marina before Hurricane Ian. This is the restaurant and marina now.
In the parking lot, we must have had about 12 feet of water. And so everything on first floor was totally destroyed. So all our gift stores and restaurants and everything, they've lost all their inventory. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars that each business lost.
Daryl Hansen has owned Salty Sam's for more than 20 years. A labor of love, now a labor of restoration.
So we're down here 12 hours or better a day trying to piece it back together.
The work, though, is not lonely.
The employees have all come together and excuse me, they're all out there working their butt off. I got waitresses that are shoveling mud and, service techs that are shoveling mud, and we're cleaning up garbage and moving pieces of aluminum and wood, and moving everything we can to try to get back to business. People are just working their butts off. I can't say enough about my employees.
Employees like Thailanders.
Most of us lost our homes, and this is our home away from home, so we're clinging on to what we have.
Catholic Charities has been leading the recovery efforts following Hurricane Ian. Now, after assessing damages and speaking with several agencies in Florida, the group says it's turning to the peripheries, focusing help on lesser known but equally stricken communities. Earlier, I spoke with a member of Catholic Charities relief team in the Diocese of Venice, Luis Reyes. He was also displaced during Ian after his home was flooded.
It's a little bit traumatizing, just to say the least, because home is what the heart is, and when your home is disrupted, I mean, nothing is the same, believe it or not.
Why do you continue to rebuild your home after storms? Why not just pack it up, sell the house, and go somewhere else?
It comes to the time that you got to realize you are a result of your environment where you live at. That's the first foremost. You got your family. You build your homestead in there. That is your identity of who you are. Maybe future generations will happen to stay in the same location and say, here's what my grandfather, here's what my father, they built this, they went through this, they fought it to thick and cold. That's the making of a family trait and of a city, a town, and their people.
How has your experience working for Catholic Charities relief team helped you rebuild your own home?
It's no science. It's no different than being a parent. There's no book. There's no guidance. Once that you're there, either you do or you don't do. The same thing with life. You make the best of what you got, and you hope that everything out to be okay. But there's no guiding book for that. You just try.
So how has Catholic Charities helped you and your family?
Oh yeah, no. The community, Catholic Charities, everybody is doing whatever it takes just to move on in life and to make sense of whatever doesn't have sense. And at this time and case, it's Mother Nature. No one can against Mother Nature. But what helps is that everybody socially collective as a group, look after each other, and speak volumes. That's why the church helping, even the government helping, and us doing for ourselves, because if you sit down and don't do nothing for yourself, nobody can help you, because they don't know what you're going through. But if you don't do something to create a little bit of who you are to move forward, you will stay there and the world will pass you by.
Luis, tell me for a moment about that statue. It's on your left. It looks like it wasn't even touched by the hurricane.
You'd be surprised. That statue, I saw that one in the curve and I picked it up because our house, not only to say it's like a sanctuary, we got so many birds that you will have no idea. So we brought St. Francis, since I found it, and say, well, guess what? This is home for you. So I put him there. A mango tree across from it, like about 100 feet, 15, 20 feet out of that tree, dispersed and came down inches away from the statue. Well, guess what? He was meant to be home because he stood there. So he symbolized not only the love that we have for nature, our reformation that we have something to look after us, whether it's God, some other saints, or to make sense of you're not alone. You're here, and I guess we will be here for whatever time God deems us to be here.
That was Luis Reyes, a member of the disaster relief team for Catholic Charities, Diocese of Venice. Of course, the Catholic Church in Florida is asking for any help people can give for the hurricane recovery efforts. And the Diocese of Brooklyn is saying we're here to help. They have set up a fund where money will not only go to Florida, but other parts of the United States, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Just make a check payable to the Compostela Fund of the Archdiocese of Brooklyn and mail it to Diocesan Finance Office, 310 Prospect Park West, Brooklyn, New York, 11215. And Currents News and The Tablet will have continuing coverage on recovery efforts down in Florida. Just be sure to stay tuned to thetablet.org for their continued reporting. And of course, be sure to watch Currents News for the latest news on how Florida is doing as they rebuild.
Also tonight, get ready to pay more for gas.
Less supply of crude oil equals less supply of gasoline.
OPEC slashing oil production.
It is an inconvenience. It's a lot of money.
Right now on Currents News, the decision that's triggering a gas pump panic.
The OPEC oil ministers have agreed to reduce production by 2 million barrels a day. That's an even larger cut than the White House had feared. Chris Wynn has the latest.
Less supply of crude oil equals less supply of gasoline. Less supply of gasoline at current demand levels equals higher prices.
Oil experts are warning the price of gas is about to surge after OPEC Plus oil ministers agreed to cut production by 2 million barrels per day.
We are not endangering the energy markets. We are providing security, stability to the energy markets.
At a price.
Everything has a price. Energy security has a price as well.
The decision is a major loss for the Biden administration, which had launched a full-scale pressure campaign in a last-ditch effort to dissuade Middle Eastern allies from cutting production, according to multiple sources.
What's your reaction to the OPEC fund decision? Disappointment, and we're looking at what alternatives we may have.
Now, 5 weeks before a high-stakes midterm election, the Biden administration is frantically sifting through options to keep gas prices down.
We believe we have the tools here at home to work with our allies and to work with Congress to make sure that we address the mistake that OPEC made yesterday, which was the wrong direction. And again, I believe it will have less of an impact in the United States and far more of an impact on lower income countries around the world.
There's a lot of alternatives. We haven't made up our mind yet.
Chris Wynn, Currents News.
Now let's take a look at the pain at the pump in our area. According to analysts at GasBuddy.com, the nationwide average for a gallon has been inching up towards that $4 mark, but currently sits at $3.86 a gallon. New York, on the other hand, has been seeing a downward trend, with the average for a gallon in the city now at $3.49. And for those who like to fill up in New Jersey, prices there have gone up to $3.45 per gallon within the past few days. A judge has slapped a temporary restraining order on parts of New York's concealed carry gun law. The ruling blocks parts of the law that outlined new requirements for background checks for permits, including the disclosure of social media accounts. The judge also blocked the ban on guns in some public and private properties. The decision follows a legal challenge by the group Gun Owners of America. There was a group of Good Samaritans who stepped up to help out a teen tourist who was slugged in the city right near Central Park. 17-year-old Caleb Chittum from Nashville was on his way to the park with his family on Wednesday when out of the blue a man appeared and punched him in the face. Despite the shock, the family said they were even more surprised when several New Yorkers flocked to the scene to offer help.
People were running to take a photo of the person that had done it and to provide to the police and to give them some idea of where this person had gone, because he kind of took off. And so it just felt like so many people. None of the police arrived, and they were super nice. The EMTs were super nice. And it just seemed like people just kind of cradled us in that moment. And it was almost hard to be afraid or
it felt more like he was, or the person that punched me was more of an outlier than a showing of what New York was. It felt like the Samaritans that helped us were more New York than anything else.
Yeah. It really did feel like such a testament to, what you would call love of neighbor.
Apart from this incident, Caleb and his father say they enjoyed their trip to the Big Apple and plan on returning. Meanwhile, police are still searching for the man responsible and are reviewing videos of the scene. Developing news on Monday's sacrilegious attack at Mary's Nativity St. Anne Parish in Flushing. The suspect, Jia Wang, who allegedly defaced the parish's statue of Mary and drove over the church's sign, has been arraigned. Wang now faces several hate crime-related charges, as well as a slew of other offenses. The church's pastor, Father Jose Diaz, says he hopes Wang is held accountable, but still forgives him. There's a lot more news headed your way.
Learning isn't one size fits all. One Catholic school is showing students you can be comfy while you crack the books. I'm Jessica Easthope. That story is ahead.
Students taking a load off wherever they want. We'll show you why it works. Plus, he's been on the job for as long as they've been in class. We'll find out what the new school superintendent in the Diocese of Brooklyn already wants to see changed. And artwork attacked. What caused a tourist to get out of hand at the Vatican museums? It's been 1 month since school bells rang and classes resumed across Brooklyn and Queens, and we're taking a look at the diocese's report card, seeing how the new school year is shaping up. We begin with one Brooklyn teacher who is breaking down the traditional classroom model with a seating arrangement that allows students to choose how and where they learn. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has that story from Bay Ridge.
Whether you plop, flop, or perch, where you sit matters. In most classrooms, the students are unique, but their desks are all the same.
All right, 7th grade.
Mr. Maloney's 7th grade class at St. Patrick Catholic Academy is breaking the mold.
So now sit wherever you'd like. Take
It's called flexible seating.
My favorite seat to sit at is the couch because it's really comfortable and you could sit with a bunch of other friends.
Then put in your quote.
Mr. Maloney found the idea on social media, and shortly after pitching it to his principal, his classroom had a couch, rugs, tables, and beanbags.
We find that students, when they're more comfortable, work best, and I've seen grades become higher, and students' just confidence and motivation grow and they become more independent.
Not only has it been great for boosting confidence and grades, it's taking his students' mental health into account. And if you're wondering, how can the students write well in this alternative arrangement?
Remember to return them where they belong.
Well, Mr. Maloney's thought of everything.
The beanbag usually gives me the most comfort, so I just use like a clipboard, have my paper, and it just feels better for me.
The kids say it's made them realize they don't have to sit to succeed.
I'm more of a visual learner. I can't really do it alone. Sometimes it's easier if someone just sits with me.
The seating is flexible, but it's not a free-for-all. If you get to a seat at the same time as someone else, you're playing rock, paper, scissors for it. Rock, paper, scissors says shoot. Zoe gets the seat. Principal Kathleen Curatolo says it's teaching the kids a lesson in responsibility and that it's all part of St. Patrick's mission.
It is welcoming. We are committed to each other and to serving others. Our mission is to lead by example as Christ did.
When this group of 25 is in class, they know they belong in their seats. In Bay Ridge, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Now to get an update on all of the schools across the Diocese of Brooklyn, we're joined by Superintendent Deacon Kevin McCormick. Nice to have you back.
It's always great to be here. Thank you.
So the last time you were here before school started, you said that you were going to be visiting as many schools as you could. So what is something that you noticed during those visits that needs to be fixed? What do we need to pay attention to in the schools?
What we need to first pay attention to is the great things that are happening. So when you walk in, the enthusiasm of the kids, the dedication of the teachers, the leadership of the principals. So I want to make sure that the narrative is clear that great things are happening. Are we where we need to be? Not yet. But we're well on our way, and it starts with the small local community, and we have great things going on there. And I've gone to about 15 schools so far, a few of the high schools, many of the grammar schools, and everyone is unique, but they all share that common excitement. What we need to continue to push the brand. We have one of the greatest products in New York City. We're not selling it enough. We need to remind parents and grandparents and the community at large that this is something worth investing in.
Absolutely. And you also mentioned the last time about teachers' salaries, that they needed to be higher. Is there any movement on that yet? Are we seeing salaries raised?
So no, I don't have the money in the bank yet, but we've spent time. I've spent time with people at St. John's to begin to talk about this issue with some of the leaders in New York City. So my counterparts in Manhattan, the Bronx, and Staten Island, as well as in Rockville Center, Nassau, and Suffolk. We met with them and we started to talk. So we're moving the ball down the field. It's on people's radar. It's on the bishop's radar. It's on our radar. So we are moving it down. And hopefully in a few months I can tell you, bang, this is what we got.
Yeah, and now when you've talked to the teachers and the parents, I'm sure you've seen a few of them, what are their biggest concerns about the schools?
Safety is huge with parents. I mean, that's clear. We live in a post 9/11 world, and so that's always going to be an issue. And I'm proud to say that our schools have safety plans, they have emergency plans, they're in contact with the local precinct, the local firehouse. So we're in good shape there, and we're always vigilant. We never say, well, that's done. We're always on top of that. The second thing they want is a Catholic identity and excellent academics. And those are the two things that we pride ourselves in.
Sure. And now there are 3 schools that are being recognized right now as schools of distinction by Cognia, which is a nonprofit that evaluates schools. They include Sacred Heart Catholic Academy in Bayside, Our Lady of Fatima School in Jackson Heights, and Incarnation Catholic Academy in Queens Village. Tell us, why is this such an honor?
Well, Cognia is an accreditation program. People might remember Middle States. This is analogous to Middle States. And they're involved in 1,500 schools, many of them in New York State. Some of the other dioceses are also using them as their accreditor. Out of that 1,500, about 96 are given the 5-star treatment, if you will. That's not their language. So out of 96, 96 out of 1,500, we have 3 here in our diocese. And what I love is that they're in, it's not one neighborhood. It's all over our diocese. And we have several more that just missed the cut. And because they were also competing and their numbers are smaller, that they allow here. Oh my goodness, definitely.
Now, really quickly, we just heard from Jess about St. Patrick's Catholic Academy in Bay Ridge. They are implementing flexible seating to help their students improve. What's one thing you may have seen in your visits to school that stood out as something that's helping the kids and it's been successful?
So this idea of flexible seating, it's not dramatic on one level. It just it respects the kids to be able to do what they're supposed to do. Kids will rise or fall to the expectation you give them. If you expect greatness, you won't be disappointed. If you expect failure, you won't be disappointed. So this is just one example of people, I hate the expression, but it works here, outside the box, trying to take a chance, and if it doesn't work, well, we found a way not to do it. So mistakes are things that I'm trying to push. Mistakes are gifts. You know, like as long as we don't repeat them.
Right.
Let's find new mistakes. This is not going to be a mistake, though.
Yeah.
And the principal Kathy there will not let it be a mistake. She's a force of nature, and we have so many of them like that.
Yeah, good. All right, Deacon Kevin McCormick, Deacon Mack, Superintendent of Schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Thanks so much for being here.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
The Diocese of Brooklyn now has its very first statue of Blessed Carlo Acutis. It was unveiled during the diocese's annual Italian Apostolate celebration at Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal Church Sunday. Speaking to the nearly 500 in attendance, Monsignor David Casado said that Blessed Acutis only needs one more miracle to become a saint and called on all present to pray for his intercession. The statue will be permanently installed in a shrine at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in Williamsburg at the request of the donor who commissioned it. Such a cool statue. Still to come on Currents News, vandalism at the Vatican, why a tourist toppled over ancient sculptures in the Vatican museums, and it's the sound of solidarity, musicians on a mission, why they never miss a jam session. He was an American tourist who just wanted to see the Pope, but after being denied Wednesday, the 65-year-old man allegedly hurled himself into an ancient Roman bust at the Vatican museums, knocking a 2,000-year-old sculpture off its pedestal. But that's not all. Officials say when he tried to run from security, he knocked over a second statue to the floor. Museum staff were able to detain the man before he could damage a third, and thankfully, it's not the end of the world for the two statues. Their shattered pieces have already been taken to the museum's restoration lab for repairs. And finally tonight, a brass band in Minneapolis is playing the sounds of solidarity. Every Monday for the past year, a group of local musicians have been gathering at the spot where a man's final breath sparked a social justice movement, George Floyd Square. Caroline Cummings reports on the mission behind their music.
On any given Monday,
are we warm?
At this corner of 38th,
shall we?
In Chicago,
Do we want to hang? We can hang out over here.
You'll find a community concert.
Just bring your horn.
Same time.
To be in that number.
Same place.
When the band begins to play. Everybody.
Same mission.
There were so many people that saw George Floyd's murder and said, what do I do? I don't know what to do. A lot of us as musicians felt we could use our art and use our gifts to bring as an offering to this space and to the movement.
A movement for racial justice Butchie Austin felt was worth playing his trumpet for. Soon he found others performing with the same purpose.
I thought I would just start playing, and then I did play for a minute. And then I was approached by some other musicians in the square at the same time. That's sort of how we started playing together.
Some starting as strangers.
I didn't know any of those players.
But eventually, friends.
Stand by me.
Who together became Brass Solidarity.
We want to be part of the call for justice, and we want to also contribute good feelings to the community.
For 81 weeks, they haven't missed a Monday.
You put smiles on people's faces and let you know they care, and it fills your soul. So that's why I do it.
A show they believe must go on.
That was Caroline Cummings reporting. Since their beginning, the group has grown to 25 musicians, and they always welcome new members. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.